Countless hours in the garage with your dad. Now investing in that old car and working on it with your son reminds you of him, and his legacy lives on. Fund your passion with a low-interest home equity line of credit from Bank of Blue Valley.
Why are you like this? It's so terrible. Nobody's going to tune in.
That's the sound. That's the sound the buffalo makes.
No, it is not.
Yeah. You hear it? It goes.
You know any facts about buffaloes?
So, Aaron, you are a buffalo because when a storm is coming, the cattle run away from the storm. The buffalo run towards the storm. What information? Do you have any fun facts about buffalo?
No, but I have a hippopotamus fact.
What is the hippopotamus fact?
Okay, did you know that so you know I'm a terrible flyer, so I have to like research and to have as much control of it as I can. Do you know that your chances are greater of getting run over by a hippopotamus on the way to the airport and passing away that way than passing away on a commercial air flight?
I got to remind my wife that anytime she flies. But yeah that's a good thing.
You just randomly tell her that hippopotamus fact?
I'm absolutely going to.
You said you do. I was like, you know that.
No, I don't. I said I need to.
It's in the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. And I read that book years ago. Wesley Hamilton told me to read it, and I read it, and I've always remembered it.
For context for the audience, who is Wesley? He's someone.
Wesley Hamilton's a badass. He is kind of the king of the disability space, all ability space. So he is Kansas City based. He got shot in Kansas City violence years ago and is paraplegic. And I hope I'm using the right words. Wesley Hamilton, go look him up. But anyways, he's a badass. He really shot to fame. Queer Eye covered him and it gave him a good platform. So then he was on the Today Show and Good Morning America and all those things. And he's doing huge, he speaks in front of tens of thousands of people every year. And he's a really great representative of our city.
Yeah, and thank you to Bank of Blue Valley and Burns McDonnell, who sponsor the show to allow us to highlight great folks like that doing great things to the community and nationwide. So it's kind of exciting because, Wesley we're just talking with one of the panelists, which everyone's here to see the panelists, not us, but we're going to banter a little bit. But it's crazy how time is flying because I feel like Wesley put Kansas City on the map like 3 years ago. And
it was pre-COVID because when he was on Queer Eye, I went to the reveal party. So it was pre-COVID that he did that. So
I wonder if it's normal we all lose track of time for COVID. Like, I wonder when that's not going to be a thing anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. But we'll see. How you been?
Doing great. The last football game for Little League coming up, so I'm coaching a lot. You're not getting in a car wreck with your teenage son that's driving, right?
Not yet.
That's good.
No, he's gonna we're finally gonna try to get his license on Friday. So I'll be a stress case. Just send me texts and alcohol. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
Absolutely. We are gonna do it, and hopefully you have some weekend plans to celebrate after this amazing test, because this weather in Kansas City is finally it's like we get like 2 good weeks in spring and 2 good weeks in fall. But man, it's beautiful in Kansas City right now.
Well, you know what Friday is? Friday is a big day to both of us. So what are you doing Friday night? Talk about it. It's really exciting.
We are going to the KC Can event, which is the Children's Assistant Network, made famous by Mrs. Veronica Maluk. I'll be corrected, Veronica, and then Mr. Peter Maluk. And, it's a grease theme. So I do not support cigarette smoking, but I'll have a prop all night, just ready to roll. I'll be like flipping cigs everywhere. What about yourself?
Well, it's a very big day in my house because the Taylor Swift movie comes out. So we have our outfits planned, our bracelets made, and we have opening show tickets.
Oh my God. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't know. I
I did not.
Mine are all about the movie. It's a big, big day for me and my daughter around here.
Well, next week on the show, I know we got to introduce our panelists, but we need to talk about the Taylor Swift effects of Kansas City and what it's having on the marketplace. It's really exciting.
The Swift effect of the world, and especially the U.S. economy, actually. We're really going to get into it. I'll be ready next week.
Next week, we will do it. But are we going to do Walking Duck? The music I love that you hate?
Well, first I'm going to ask everybody if you are here watching. I see there's quite a few people watching. Let us know if you're watching from Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Stay over here in the comments. I'll make sure. Elizabeth says she cannot wait. Scott is in the speakeasy, looking good. He is in the speakeasy. I told him it looks like you have a bartending job.
I am a bartender. I'm a name tags and Sharpie guy. That's what I do for a living.
Name tags and Sharpie. So be like Elizabeth and leave a comment if you're watching Facebook, YouTube. I am really out of it today. I'm tired. Okay, I'm not doing the stupid duck one because you guys aren't supposed to be using
I love it. But Erin, you look so nice today. You got all dressed up.
I went to lunch with my friend Mackie Musavi today.
I know. Today's great.
Yeah.
Spinning up.
But it's better than the duck. Okay, we're going to go by the order of how everybody got here. Nathan, Daniel, and David. God, you like that way too much. Way too much.
Yeah, baby.
You guys, we are so excited to have you guys on here today. So we're going to start with Nathan. Nathan, who are you? What are you doing? How do you get to Kansas City?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So Nathan Waltz, CEO for WorkForge. We are a Kansas City-based company down the South Plaza. We focus on manufacturing and talent development within various sectors of manufacturing using e-learning and custom content and a platform for manufacturer employees to deploy that content and know what their employees know how to do and continue to develop them as they stay on at the manufacturer and continue to pursue those careers. I'm originally from Lawrence, Kansas, and Rock Chalk Jayhawk, so I was born in this area, so I'm Kansas City.
Wow, I don't know if we've ever had all 5 people that love the Hawk as much as this crew in Lawrence, Kansas.
Did anybody else there get a ticket in high school? Nope, just me. Okay.
Ooh, I don't know. Dan, I'm surprised you did not. You look very young.
I really liked the Hawk in my teenage years.
Was that an MIP?
No, they wrote me a ticket for, because they didn't catch me drinking. They wrote me a ticket for curfew. And my mom, quick side note, guys, and then we're gonna get to you. It's all about me right now. My mom had to go to court, and I was actually that summer. The court was during that summer, and I actually was going to journalism camp, and I got an interview. Do you guys remember Ryan Robertson? Like we set up an interview, and I had to do this whole video thing. And court was during the interview with Ryan Robertson, so I obviously could not go to court. So my mom went, and they just yelled at her for being a bad mom, even though we were staying at Ashley Darnell's house, and her mom let us go out. It was a whole. My mom still brings it up. I will be 44 years old this week, and my mom still brings it up. She's like, "Remember when I had to go to court?" I'm like, "I'm sorry." Who doesn't sneak out? My son, because I know what he's doing.
That's right. So Nate, two questions. One, what's an example of a client you work with? And then 2, kind of like everyone else on this panel, everyone's a CEO except for myself. You are all very kind. That's a leadership style. Where does your leadership style come from? So example of a client and leadership style.
Okay. Example of a client. Nestle is one of our biggest food clients. And so we work on very specific standard operating procedures that have to do with their operators and maintenance techs that help to teach new employees basically how to do the process or work with the machine that has to do with that frontline processing work and also keep the machine running. And we've worked with them for just about 3 years now, and continue to build upon, again, the idea of just talent development. And as they bring new people in and have them work with new processes and new machines in the plant, that, we're helping to get those employees productive as quickly as possible, helping to keep the machines going, helping them learn the skills and capabilities that they need to know so that they can, persist as far as what Nestle is trying to accomplish in those various plants. And we work in about 35 of those plants today, because of course Nestle is a pretty big company with a big footprint. And then in terms of just sort of leadership style and I guess sort of caring about employees, I guess I'd have to give probably quite a bit of credit to my mom and dad on both those fronts. So my mom worked for Sprint for a very long time, and when she got that opportunity to work there, she had worked at a lot of other jobs where she was a frontline employee. And so she always talked a lot about how important it was to treat people well, no matter what level they worked at in the organization. And my dad was a banker and a lawyer, and he echoed a lot of the same stuff, that at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters, no matter what industry you're working in, is people matter. And if you take care of people on the way up, they'll take care of you, on the path and on the journey. And I found that to be, to prove out over a pretty long period of time.
I have a question. How does a company in Kansas City land the Nestle deal?
That's a great question. So local connections go a long way. I'd say, anybody who's involved in sales can appreciate how much client experience and referrals really matter a lot. And so as a kind of a startup organization over the last 3-4 years, we found that our local community and our geographic distance makes a difference to our local customers. They want to work with somebody who's in the region and who knows their business and their people they're hiring and trying to keep better than, say somebody on the coast, for example. And then if you have success, they want to see you successful. And the interesting thing about manufacturing is manufacturers are usually dependent upon a lot of other inputs in order to make what they're making. And so when they think about their supply chain, they're very quick, if you've had success, to recommend you into their supply chain, because chances are they're having the same problems at other local manufacturers or regional manufacturers that are supplying them as they're having. And so they're quick to make those kind of referrals. And that's how we got to Nestle as well, was through the local community, because there's a plant in our region, and we got recommended and picked up through some other manufacturers in the area.
Nice. Awesome. All right, Scott, I kind of know what Scott's saying.
Aaron drives the show, so I asked the second question quickly, and she usually does question number 2 and 3. So I went out of order, so I was scared. I was gun shy.
We're still working on it. I'd really like him to ask one question at a time too, like listen for the answers. But it's a work in progress, guys. We're 3 years in. We're almost there. We're getting there.
You never know.
Scott, where you should have been scared of is where you compared Aaron to a buffalo. Now, your answer was great, but I saw her face and my face inside did the same thing. I'm going, dude, you are dangerously close to being in a lot of trouble. Great recovery, but I was curious. That was dangerous.
Luckily, I know Scott's heart. Otherwise, it got real bad. As he gets dropped out of here. Just kidding. All right, cool. Okay, Dan, who are you? What do you do? How do you get to Kansas City?
My name is Dan Huerter. I'm the CEO of a company called Pure Spectrum. We're a hemp-based wellness company, and I'm born and raised in Kansas City. Went out to Colorado for 6 or 7 years and moved back a couple of years ago. So my company still is based out of Colorado. I'm based here in Kansas City. I moved back a couple of years ago to be close to my mom, who's battling some health stuff and winning. So she's doing great, and just wanted to be close to her. So that's who I am and how I got here.
Now, recently, what are some evolutions in your business that are exciting?
Oh man, we got a lot of changes in my industry and business. This year, we were able to add kind of another first onto our belt. We've been first in a lot of areas, and so this year we became the trusted wellness partner of the Kansas City Royals, which was one of the first deals done in technically I'm a cannabis company since we are hemp-based. Hemp is cannabis. And so a cannabis company doing a deal with a major league sports team is a big deal. But also when you think of, Kansas City and the conservatism around here, it was a lot of hard work, and it did great. And then on the industry side, on the side that Aaron enjoys, the marketing has really just started opening up to us. We can compliantly advertise on Meta now for the first time. And we've been in business for 8 years without being able to have traditional marketing. So those channels opening up is really exciting for me.
It's funny you bring that up, because I was talking about that in our morning meeting today, of how your industry is, the financial industry forever was the one it's still really hard, and it's so regulated, and it's so gray in social media. But you guys are regulated even harder than the financial industry, but we're just starting to see some of those, like, and what does that mean for other industries is what's really interesting, because once those doors get open, what doors can be shut, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right.
Dan, what are some other pioneering things you've done with other sports?
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of spun the gamut when it goes to sports. We started with a bunch of UFC fighters at the time. That would have been back in 2016. UFC fighters have never been well paid on the lower rung of things. And so this was the beginning of influencer marketing. They were really easy to get for. We had one, he started using it, and he started recovering faster, seeing better sleep scores on his health trackers and things like that. And so he started sharing with friends. And before you knew it, we had a ton of UFC fighters repping our brand. And we were able to do that for 20% of sales that came in through their link or code, which is not a deal that you can get done anymore in the current landscape. So we started out with UFC, and then in 2018, we partnered with the CrossFit Games and became the first cannabis company to partner with a major sports organization at the CrossFit Games. And we've also partnered with a couple different Olympic governing bodies in the past, with USA Triathlon and USA Weightlifting. So right now, our only current sponsorship partnership, stay tuned for 2024. But right now we're laser focused on maximizing the value of the Royal sponsorship. And that one's been a lot of fun, and a lot of learning lessons along the way, being one of the first to the MLB in an entire new category. There's often challenges with that too.
Love it. What do you think? Okay, let me ask you this correctly. Because of your industry, I feel like there's still a lot of people that don't understand the difference in industry, the difference in products in the industry, really the different avenues in the industry. What is your biggest pushback in just the day-to-day landscape when you're trying to make these deals?
I don't know if I would call it pushback or just misinformation or miseducation. There's just so much education still needed. And, when I introduced myself, I said I'm a hemp-based wellness company instead of a CBD company, where if I would have said CBD company, at least your mind would associate something with it by now, and not always a good something either. So a lot of people didn't even take the time to learn about what cannabinoids are or our body's internal system and why they work. They saw CBD sold here attached to some seedy little shop, and they said, okay, well, if it's sold there, it's not for me. I don't know what it is, but I know enough about it where I've learned all I need to know. And there's so much to learn. And it works because our body has an entire system responsible for balance or homeostasis. And we just discovered that system in 1998 or 1988. And we haven't really been able to study it or study the cannabinoids as constituents because of prohibition of marijuana. And so there's just a lot of education needed on what is the difference between hemp and marijuana. What are these cannabinoids, these things that we found in the plant, and how our bodies can use them. And so there's a long way to go. And it's exciting to me because my job will never be over. I plan on being in the hemp-based wellness space for 30 plus years to come, decades to come, as Scott Havens would say. And so, that's exciting to me that I can be laser focused on it. And, in 30 years, we'll still be figuring out new stuff and be able to create better and better products for our customers. So a lot more education needed is the short answer there.
I have a question for you from Elizabeth. She said she's curious as to your perspective on cannabis acceptance on the Kansas side.
Yeah, Kansas is tough. I actually sat on a couple meetings of the Kansas Cannabis Coalition Board, and Kansas. So cannabis has both hemp and marijuana when you think of the two industries, and hemp became legal to grow a few years back, and a lot of farmers grew for cannabinoid production, and the raw material market of cannabinoids, the bottom fell out of it over the first year that they were able to grow. So now you have a lot of farmers that aren't wanting to grow the product because they took a huge hit. And then on the marijuana side, it's been a long time coming. It seemed that we were getting really close on the legislative side, and then the Roe v. Wade thing happened that same week, and this focus shifted. And so a lot of times if you have momentum when it comes to legislation and law, you keep that momentum. As soon as it falls away, it's hard to get back for sessions, quarters, maybe even years. And so I think the overall general public is accepting of it. I think if you go to the Missouri side, if you drive by a dispensary, maybe like a green light off 135th, I think 80 to 90% of the license plates in that parking lot are going to say Kansas on them and not Missouri. And so I think that's evidence that like Kansas culture is, welcoming it and ready for it. I think it's crazy that they legalized sports gambling, which absolutely can wreck people's lives and have, and continue to leave marijuana illegal, but that's neither here nor there.
It's a weird thing when you share a city like Kansas City, right? And the laws are so vastly different. Like I do a lot of, I have a lot of TikTok connections, and Kansas City's pretty hot right now. I don't know if you guys know this, but they often ask when I'm on these TikTok lives, like, I don't understand. Is it the Kansas, the Missouri side? How's that work? I'm like, oh, it's the whole thing, guys. The whole thing, especially when it comes to the laws. So
Yep.
on both sides, it's like crazy. Like it passed there, but not this, and then it passed there, not this. Just weird. So nuts. Okay, cool. All right. Well, thanks for being here, David. Who are you? What do you do? How'd you get to Kansas City?
I'm David Voorhees. I'm the CEO and founder of True Captive Insurance. We are a health insurance carrier that uses our proprietary healthcare captive to finance insurance and partner with our customers to provide what I would consider world-class benefits where people can not have insurance that sucks. Actually, that's the funniest thing that I hear people say when I ask them, what are you hoping to get out of insurance this year? And they say insurance that doesn't suck, which means there's a very low bar to what people are consuming. How did I get to Kansas City? My grandfather, retired World War II doctor, retired in Leavenworth, Kansas, started his private practice, and actually, unbeknownst to him, really is the genesis of how this business got started, where our logo came from. His medical degree is behind me. And in fact, this little bad boy, and don't look at this, I lost a bet, so I'm not a Lions fan. This is one of his old stethoscopes, if you can believe it. Ooh. This little apparatus is not as fancy as what they carry around their neck. So a lot of memorabilia around my office to remind me really some of the things that were foundational to him as he practiced medicine and house calls. And I, as a little boy, got to go along and see him practice medicine, and I idolized him. And hopefully today we're making him proud.
So over the last couple of years, what has been some of the more exciting evolutions in your space or things that your organization has done to help others in healthcare?
So I spent 20 years in HR and operations. So I was inside a core foundation of the business, supporting multiple business structures and leaders. And, in HR, for anybody that practices or around it, that you have to change your verbiage to be more adaptive to other people. You want to be inclusive. You want to try to be supportive and make the engine run more efficiently. And when I lost my mind temporarily to start a business and try to create something, slightly different, but enhance the value, there was a lot of negativity in the space, and the consumer did not trust the carrier. And we're still working on doing that, because foundationally, I think we're all trying to do something similar, but in a different fashion. We want to villainize people making money, but we're an entrepreneurial society. And so if you are transparent with people on how you're making money, most people don't have a problem with that. But insurance carriers for a while hadn't really been transparent. And so we've spoken a language that the consumer speaks. The best compliment that we get is you don't sound like an insurance company. And I've noticed over the past 3 years, some of our biggest competitors who, listen, I consider them as friends. I think we're all providing a very valuable service. I can see their verbiage changing. I can see them more supportive to trying to create a value and a synergy and a relationship where, listen, if the consumer who's consuming the insurance is more efficient, you make more money. Conversely, if you help them be more efficient, they're saving money and you're, as a byproduct, making money. So I'm just seeing a lot of change in how we're partnering and supporting one another. There's so many different things in healthcare that are truly life-changing that people are experiencing. Gene therapies, pharmaceuticals that are truly something that if you prepare for and can be on the front edge of, it's really rewarding to be a part of. We don't cure anybody. I don't get to practice medicine like my grandfather. At the same time, we're close to people who are. And so it's kind of cool to be a very small part of not ruining somebody's life financially, but allowing them to continue to get healthy and watch things thrive. So it's been really cool to see the market adapt to being more supportive and trying to be honest and transparent. We still have a long way to go. I don't point fingers because I'm part of the industry. We have a long way to go, but I like where we're headed.
I have a question.
Please.
Because when you talk like that, it reminds me, different industry, but same, different business, same industry. What are your thoughts on what Mark Cuban's doing with his online pharmacy?
I'm a big fan of Mark Cuban as an entertainer. I think he's a great business person. I think he's a rainmaker. I think really what he's doing is he's trying to put his spin on something that's there. He's a PBM. He's a pharmacy benefit manager. So he is somebody in between the distribution cycle and the consumer, and he's partnering with different people. So I think he means well. I think he wants to make money doing it. Do I truly think anything that they're doing is completely flipping the market upside down? No, but I don't think they should either. I think he's trying to be transparent. I think he's trying to make it more efficient, and as a byproduct, have a very successful and profitable business. And his name wields power. So I think just in that, as long as he takes an approach of trying to be adaptive to multiple parties, I think it's going to be very, very successful. I use the term if because this industry can turn you around even if you're one of the smartest business people. And, I hope that he continues forging that path forward.
Yeah, David, I'm in the insurance. I don't think of your company as an insurance company. I always think of it as a solution for companies. For you, how do you feel that it's been, with your message across the country? Because you don't just work with people in Kansas City, you work with people all throughout the country. So how is that different around the country than it is in Kansas City?
Well, in Kansas City, people are friendlier. I'm kidding. No, I'm not. We're actually a very friendly community. I would say that we've gone from the consumer didn't know what they didn't know to now what they know what they don't know, and they're upset, which is a great phase to be in. They're smarter. I think a lot of the people that are in the industry, like you, Scott, people are working really, really hard to be strong partners of the customer. When I started this business, people thought I was nuts, that I thought being closer to the consumer, being kneecap to kneecap with the patient was, one, hard, and two, it's not going to be successful. And here we are 3 years later, and our loss ratio is 26%. And in layman's terms, what that means is we have a lot less volume of high dollar claims. And it's not because we're avoiding them. We're actually encouraging people to go use more insurance so they can take care of themselves, so we can have early detection. My mother's a breast cancer survivor. It's actually here. For most people that know me, I wear a lot of cool shoes. These are the shoes that I'm rocking today. So, if you get early detection, you can make sure that you're healthy. You can make sure that you're safe. So, I think around the country, people are just craving people who honestly care and people that are transparent about what they do. And I joke with people, if I have 3 seconds to tell you who I am, I'm both a raging capitalist and a bleeding heart. And I think those two things are really important as an entrepreneur. Is if you care about people, that's huge. If you care about money, you can be successful, but you cannot care about one of them more than the other. Otherwise, you won't be able to be honest as a business owner. So it's really cool to be around the country, to work with some of the customers and companies you guys have mentioned previously. But it's an honor and a blessing to be able to do this. But it is stressful sometimes. There's a lot of finger pointing and a lot of mudslinging, like everybody has in their business. So it's always entertaining.
Because it's your office, I thought you pulled something from underneath it, but it was your shoe. So I didn't realize that. The question I had that I forgot about, you also do a lot of different podcasts. What are those podcasts? How can people tune into them?
Well, actually, we're starting a new one on the basis of hot ones. So it's going to be an insurance and business podcast called Running Hot. And I won't spoil it, but we have a former college All-American as our first guest. So that's going to be fun. A series of 5 wings, and anyone here is welcome to join. Series of 5 wings. If you take the 6th one, you don't even have to complete it, but if you take the 6th one, we're going to donate $1,000 to the charity of your choice. Now, I will warn you, it's incredibly hot. As somebody that used to be a competitive eater, it is manageable, but it will certainly test the fiber of any of you. But would love to have anybody join. But it's really fun to be on some of these podcasts and just to get to talk to people, get to learn more about others. For those of you that don't know, it's really hard to run a successful podcast. And for if you think about this particular one that's been running how long now?
3 years. We're beating the odds.
3 years. I think the odds to get to 20 is almost impossible. Like 20 shows is almost impossible. So the fact that you're 3 years in.
85% of podcasts don't have more than 3 episodes.
There you go.
Whoa, Aaron, I know you're going to ask a question, but Spicin Foods, which used to be Original One, they make all the sauce here. They used to have a thing where you had to sign, speaking of the speakeasy, we were going to have them in the first speakeasy, but you have to sign a waiver. So you and I are on healthcare, but the property casualty business insurance side is getting a waiver, I feel like, because it's pretty hot. So like when people have you sign a waiver at a restaurant, it's actually, I mean, it's not a prop, it's real. So it could be some hot stuff.
We are at the point in marketing where you sign waivers for almost anything. I feel like waivers are just becoming.
I want to protect the business here. I got worried here because the person that they manufactured it they would have people sign dipping a toothpick on their tongue. So it would go in hot sauce, and they put the toothpick on their tongue, and it would wreck the person for the entire day, and they would send them home.
That's stupid. Okay, well, good luck with your podcast. I hope you don't kill anyone.
I think it's a genius idea.
I just know it's stupid that people would like put it on their tooth. Like it'd be that hot. David's not going to do that to people.
No, that's optional. That one is optional, and we'll donate to your charity. And I'll do it with them. I will do it with them. I do not ask anyone to do anything I won't do.
Can we just not ignore the part that you said you used to be a competitive eater?
Yeah. Wait, sorry about that.
Now everybody's looking at me. I feel exposed.
What did you competitive eat? Hot dogs?
Mine was all spice challenges. So my record is 2 full servings of ghost pepper concentrate. And that almost did wreck me. I will tell you that I didn't know where I was for about an hour. It was that hot. So it was.
How does one decide to be a competitive spice eater?
Very similar to how one starts a business in the middle of a global pandemic.
You were just like, I want to eat spicy food, or did like somebody say you should do this? Like, I need more information.
Well, my father is Venezuelan, and they like spicy foods, so I was predisposed to eat spicy foods.
Okay.
And then I started to eat spicy foods, and people gave me attention. And as a young kid, we all like attention, so you're like, oh yay. And then you start to build more and more, and then that sounds like a great idea, and then you get really good at it, and you realize other people can't do it, and so then people will have you to their restaurants or all sorts of fun stuff. I was in South Carolina. They have a sushi restaurant there that does. In fact, it was on what was that eating challenge show? You guys remember that show?
Man versus Food.
It was on Man versus Food, so it was spicy tuna rolls. So, yeah, lots of fun, uninteresting stuff.
Yeah.
I think this is a very interesting conversation, but I'm going to move on because this is a business podcast, but I will probably circle back with an email. All right, look, Paul is watching on LinkedIn.
Whoa, that's crazy. Blasphemy.
Caroline said, you're at the speakeasy. She is so here for it. And Paul, David, could you just, I don't need you to answer this question right now, but maybe circle into his DMs. He would like to know, what did the following 24 hours look like after the ghost peppers? I'm going to let you answer that privately, Paul. You just watch for the next DM, okay? All right, guys, let's get to our Burns and McDonnell question of the day. As soon as she is done asking the question, Nathan, please answer.
Hi, my name is Megan Stretz, and I'm an HR business partner here at Burns & McDonnell. I work with employees to help them reimagine the path to success in their careers. Can you tell me how you define and demonstrate the values in your organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. That sort of sits at a little bit of the heart of what we do as a company, actually, in manufacturing. So if we kind of decompose it, I guess there's a couple different ways to look at it. One, what we see in manufacturing, and this is pretty much all sectors, is there's really it's very competitive for talent. And not to say that that's not the case in every industry in America right now, but it's hyper competitive in manufacturing for a lot of reasons that date back to the decades of perception that we've kind of hollowed out manufacturing employment, to our perceptions of the jobs as being potentially dangerous or dirty, maybe low pay, where we've put a lot of our eggs in the basket of sort of college education and not necessarily around skills-based training. There's just been a lot of kind of headwinds that have made it really challenging for employers to kind of build a pipeline of talent in their organizations. So when you think about that, you got to kind of decompose it, in particular around skills and trades, around, hey, what are the skills and capabilities and competencies somebody's going to need to have in order to be successful to, number one, kind of get one of these jobs. And fortunately for a lot of folks, it doesn't take a lot. And what I mean by that is, do you have a pulse and are you willing to show up for work? And if you're willing to kind of be those two things, which is the absolute like minimal requirements, then what we found is in virtually every manufacturing sector, you can get hired. And with support from that manufacturer, both in terms of training and development, in terms of on-the-job training from senior people or project-based learning, that you can really differentiate yourself as an individual versus, say, working out. This is no bad mouthing a Starbucks or McDonald's, but you can learn very, very concrete skills and competencies that can persist with you over a very long period of time, that not only are knowledge-based, but also become almost a form of art in some ways, in terms of what manufacturers are trying to produce in some instances. And so there's this really interesting convergence of skills and capabilities, of sort of internal drive of the person, of things that you can learn from other people that are institutional knowledge or art forms around how we're producing what we're producing. And I'll give you an example of a local Kansas City company called Zahner. They're one of the older fabricating companies in the world, and they really specialize in metallurgy, all the way back to sort of the original founder. And they produce all kinds of really interesting project-based, large fabricated metal. And they produced it for a variety of stadiums, including, if I remember correctly, certainly SoFi Stadium, and then also the stadium in Las Vegas. And that's just to name a few, where they are one of a few that are have people and employees who are so capable of being able to produce these things that are kind of truly like art forms, and they're huge, that people come to them and they've been able to predicate a business off of this very, very unique skill set, which has a lot to do with engineering at the sort of design level, but then also down to the employees who have these skills around things like CNC and using machines to create these things, and then to send them to be part of these rather large structures. And that's just an example of a local company that's doing that. And when you think about their pipeline, right? So if they're starting with people in general who don't come with a lot of skills and experiences that maybe people would have had 30 years ago, coming out of shop class, for example, in high school, or maybe coming off the farm and just learning how to go operate machinery or how to solve problems independently on a farm. A lot of those skills, like even reading tape measures, which is like really scary to say, that these are things that are not by and large widespread capabilities or knowledge bases of younger people or of younger generations. And these are things that have to be developed and built upon. They have to be skills that somebody acquires over time, both from knowledge and experience. And then if you think about all the other things that you have to learn to develop that talent, like teamwork or conflict management, or really complicated concepts like continuous improvement, which have things to do with like lean concepts or Six Sigma concepts that tend to be sort of math heavy. There's just a lot of really heavy, important skills here that you have to build over a career.
Yeah.
The really cool thing about manufacturing is that if you come into it and you allow yourself to be an open book and willing to learn, and these are by and large very safe environments now. There's lots of tools, there's lots of experience, there's lots of cool things people are working on. You can get to a middle wage income within a few years and build upon that, and you will have very, very little debt because you didn't go to, and this, again, I'm a big believer in colleges. I've spent a lot of time in college over the years, and it certainly has a place, but there are other ways to get to a sustainable career, a good job, working in industries that are very stable and growing. And that's, I guess it's a long-winded answer, but that's kind of how I see it.
Do they still have shop class in high school, I wonder?
You know, it's a thing that's been pared back heavily, but what we're starting to see in the high schools actually is a commitment to some ideas like CAPS program, which, you know, doesn't necessarily have sort of a skills-based format in sort of the sense we're talking about, but they have outcomes and focus on things like medical assistance to get kids interested in the medical field or engineering or software development. We're starting to see that pop up in different pockets of various cities where either the colleges are partnering with select high schools or we're standing up career technical education centers in various parts of the state. So for example, in St. Joe, which is about an hour north of here, they're standing up and building something called CTAC, which is going to be a skills-based program completely focused on advanced manufacturing and how they can get younger people and people who are transitioning careers into an environment where they can do both, you know, e-learning, hybrid learning, and have their hands on projects, be around employers who want to invite them into their spaces to learn, and create kind of this ecosystem of how we create these employees to fill the gap of what we've seen over the last maybe 20, 25 years of hollowing out of some of that.
I like it.
Nate,
Go ahead. We just don't have much time left, but hurry.
Real quick, artificial intelligence is about to reshape the work environment, especially for a lot of white collar professionals. Do you see a rise in training for adults or the government stepping in to repurpose education to meet that demand of jobs that may be repurposed?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So like if you think about knowledge-based workers, right, you think about artificial intelligence, like that's, you know, where technology is always going to be an opportunity whenever you see repetitive tasks or whenever you see things that could be, you know, captured and codified, you know, using hard points like data and how you can build things like large language models that basically build off of, you know, language, right? And how we can create, you know, sort of machine learning to create thinking models around how to answer simple questions. And by the way, we're doing stuff with artificial intelligence around our content because we have over 900 modules of content, which would be the deepest library of manufacturing in the world from an e-learning perspective. And how can we make the content particles easier for our manufacturers, both the trainers and the trainees, how it's easier to find what they're looking for by applying artificial intelligence concepts and LLMs in order to make the learning process more efficient, right? And so, answer your question, I think manufacturing jobs and advanced manufacturing where employees do repetitive tasks, we don't see as much repetitive tasks. We think we should be seeing manufacturing more as how we solve problems, how we put these skills to use using machines as a multiplier of human knowledge and what needs to be produced, and how artificial intelligence can create things like the connected worker, or how we can share skills or share experiences and knowledge to make what is now, quite frankly, a very, very hard to find resource, which is people, something that is no longer seen as a commodity like we've seen over the last 100, 200 years or 100 years of the Industrial Revolution, and how we see that as a very, very rare resource that we have to cultivate and we have to build upon in order to capture as much production as we possibly can, because what whether or not we like it, at least in America, we're capping out around 350 million people in this country population wise. That's pretty much flat, and that's going to be exactly how many people are here at the end of this century. And if we believe that technology is a multiplier of productivity, I agree with Elon Musk. We do not have enough people if we are going to continue to drive productivity. So people are not the problem. Now, you can make arguments for climate change and how we produce. That's a problem, and that's a problem to be solved.
That's a whole nother show, sir.
Whole nother show.
Whole nother show, sir. Listen, I want to pull this up. Fred says, Ray-Pec School District and MCC have an amazing CNC machining course. I just met with MCC last week. Their program for welding, construction, CNC, etc. is definitely one of the best I've seen. Ultratech also offers an internship and tuition reimbursement for these courses. That is amazing. All right, Dan, for 5 seconds, I thought your internet went out, and then I realized you probably sit still longer than anyone I know without. Do you remember the question? Okay, we can't.
Now you muted yourself.
How do you define values and live them in your organization?
Go for it.
Yeah, I love this question because I think it's so important. And there's a company in town. They have local business owners. Jeff Wasserman and Kyle Combs are an amazing example of this. They own supplement superstores. If you've ever driven by a supplement superstore, they have an amazing culture because they have very defined core values, and when they're hiring and firing, everything is based off of their core values, and it makes all of the deciding things easier in entrepreneurship. So there's a lot of different operating systems that you can use to build a company. One is called EOS, based on a book called Traction by Gene Wickham. And he starts with core values. And a lot of these operating systems, they start with core values because that has to be your guideline. And so oftentimes as a boss or a leader, if you have, let's say, 2 employees in conflict, well, one of those employees is probably living up to your core values more than the other. And that's how you can kind of decide, if you have to let go one of them, then you have a measuring stick essentially of how to hire and fire. And it's based on your core values. So just because someone's the most skilled in the world, if they don't meet your core values, it doesn't mean that they're a good fit for the team. And so I think defining your core values is very, very important right out of the gate, so that then you can hire accordingly to those core values and bring on the best team. Because if you can do that, then you can win in any industry, I believe. And then I think they come from the top. Your organization is a reflection of yourself a lot of the times. And so are you living those core values? Are they just pretty words on paper that make you look good? Or is it something that you truly believe you live in every single day? And I think it's a really important practice for individuals and companies to go through of like, what are your core values? Not what you want them to be, not what looks good on paper. What are your actual core values? And a really easy way is just paying attention to things that piss you off or things that make you really feel really good, because underneath that is probably a core value that's either being stepped on or exemplified. And so it's just really paying attention and then looking at underneath that. And so A, defining them, and then B, is living them, being an example of them. And, Kyle and Jeff go as far to, in their monthly meeting, they give out awards based on each of their core values of the member on their team that most exemplified that then shows the rest of the team, this is exactly what that core value means in our organization. So that's my answer to the Burns and McDonnell question of the day.
Ooh, great plug.
Do you do awards for your core values?
We need to start. I currently, no, I don't.
I like that. All right. Hi, Deborah. How are you? All right. Deborah is actually making us our 1989 sweatshirts that we're going to wear to the Taylor Swift movie on Friday.
Nice.
All right, David, how about you?
I think everybody had a great answer, and I'll even piggyback. I think it's broken down into leading by example. And I think everybody likes to look at things like people always do the right thing. It's Instagram perfect. As a leader, I do everything right all the time. But I think learning from when you make your mistakes, that's leading by example as well, too. I was having a coffee with a young gentleman who really is starting off his career. And I was saying, I post-mortem every conversation. I go, I will leave this conversation with you, and I will go back and I will think about the things that I shared, the things that I thought that I shared were really good feedback, and areas where I thought I could maybe polish up. He said, you do that after every conversation? I said, yeah. I said, I don't spend as much time as I did maybe 15 years ago when I started doing that. But I think leading by example is critical, and we probably make more mistakes than we knock things out of the park. And when you watch leaders or you watch others in the business, and I love what you were saying about, it really starts everywhere. But when you watch people and they make a mistake, it's what did they do to change how they showed up, and what are they going to do differently that people learn from? We can't always be perfect right out of the gate. I always answer it this way, like, how did you figure out what you were doing? I was like, I've made a ton of mistakes, and I've had awesome people around me to tell me I was an idiot or I was a schmuck, or, hey, that took a lot of courage to tell somebody who was pretty headstrong and pretty confident that what you're doing wasn't the greatest thing. And, I went home and I was pretty annoyed by it. And then when I thought about it, I go, wow, it took a lot of courage to tell me that wasn't good. It didn't make me look good, or it didn't resonate well with people. So leading by example is the core foundation of anything that I do. And that's what we do here organizationally. I love the idea of giving awards and calling out spots where people are living that. And, that's something that I think we definitely should. And I also echo a lot of companies, and I've been part of them, and I've been part of this exercise. So I'm calling myself out as much as anything, is you go through the exercise of identifying goals and things that you want to embody, and they really just become paper messages. And at the end of the day, if those aren't leading you to find success, helping people feel rewarded, helping your customers feel rewarded, then they really don't serve a big purpose other than being able to market it. At the end of the day, if it's something as simple as lead by example, or it's something as, make somebody feel like they make a difference every day. If you do that every day, great. It's like Kobe said, every day is about getting a little bit better. And if you can do that, when you look back at the end of the year, you'll be able to see how much progress you've made.
I love that you slipped in Kobe. Big Kobe guy right there.
Remember when everybody used to say Kobe about everything? It didn't matter. Like, Kobe.
Sean, I use Kobe all the time when I talk to young people about work. And Kobe Bryant worked 4 times as hard as everyone else. Therefore, at the end of the year, he was 4 times better. And he compounded it. So I can run the show. Aaron, I have a good icebreaker that's short if you want to hear it.
Hold on, let me read these real quick. Elizabeth said, I'm all about helping organizations identify and operationalize core values. It is the golden nugget. And Caroline says, self-reflection is vital to assess yourself and how you can reflect back to others too. If it's a one word answer icebreaker, we can fit it in.
It's a sentence. And I love it so much that I'm asking for forgiveness. Nate, what is one lesson you learned from the Hawk at the University of Kansas?
Oh my God. One sentence, please.
Gosh.
We can go to Dan real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, somebody else.
Yeah, I'll go. It's that cliche saying, your network is your net worth. If you want to get in as a freshman, you just got to know somebody.
David?
If the question is, would you like another drink? The answer is always yes. That might not be the right answer, but that is always the answer.
Aaron, what about you? What did you learn from the Hawk?
I mean, probably that it's just way cheaper to be a hot girl.
Okay. And then Nate, what was the lesson that you said you learned from the Hawk?
Don't fall down the hill, I guess.
There we go. I like
about
it.
you,
All right, Aaron, I'm sorry.
Where's your answer, Scott?
Walk in like you own the place to skip the line. That's not what I would do, but that's what I remembered learning from the Hawk. If you're ever at a bar where you're not supposed to be, just pretend like you own the place and walk in.
All right, now that this show has gone to hell.
God, Tank, it was so good. Then I asked the icebreaker. I'm
Such
sorry.
a great show. We want to thank our panelists for coming on today. You guys were amazing. Make sure you go follow them, and all of them put out great content, so go make sure you check that out. Thank you, Scott, for being a co-host. Sometimes I say the best co-host ever. Today, I'm just going to say a co-host. And thank you to Bank of Blue Valley and Burns and McDonnell for sponsoring the show. We are so excited. We've got some great guests coming on. And I will tell you, I'll break the news here, that you want to mark your calendars for the first Monday in November instead of the first Tuesday in November. We actually have Peter Maluk coming on, and it is only the second time he's been on anything in Kansas City in 2023. So mark your calendars for that right now. But we've got great guests coming on the next few weeks up until then. We hope you have a fabulous Tuesday. We will see you same time, same place next week. Have a great day.